All right, back for our second video on how to use Tableau to analyze camera trap data using the SnapshotUSA data. This time we're going to be working with the deployment level data. So whereas last time each row was a detection of like one picture or one sequence of an animal, this time each row is going to be one location and the results are going to summarize what was there at that location. So let's start by grabbing the SnapshotUSA deployment data, drag it in. And this will load up. And as before, it knows what these fields are pretty well. And so we have the locations. Each one is a row, so it's got a name, right? So you can see Alaska 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The survey days. This is very important. We're going to standardize by survey day. The latitude, longitude, and then when you get out here, some values on the characteristics of that site. So we've got how much of the area was cultivated within 1 kilometer, what the population density was, the log of that population density, the gross primary productivity, a couple measures of that, and the buildings. What was the nearest building in meters and how many buildings were in 500 meters. So this is for each place a camera trap was run. And then we have all the detection data. So all the detections of how many detections we got of a species at that camera site. There's lots of zeros because we have lots of species and they don't live everywhere. But this detection, we need to standardize by rate, by effort to get a rate, right? So here's coyotes. If we click on this little triangle, we can create calculated field and we can say, we'll call this rate coyote. And then we divide the coyote by the survey days. So if you just start typing, survey days will come up and now we've got a coyote rate. And so now you can see every place that had a coyote has some value that shows the survey rate in terms of detections per day. And so that's going to be our measure of relative abundance that we use for coyotes. Now you can do this exercise from a sheet too. So let's go to a sheet. And I'm going to do this for deer. So create calculated field. I'm going to call this rate all deer. So in this case, I'm going to do a different calculation where I'm going to take mule deer plus white-tailed deer. And then let's add elk too, because elk are a kind of deer. And then we also have something called unknown cervid. And this is when we got a picture. We couldn't tell if it was a white-tailed deer or a mule deer, but we knew it was a deer, or maybe it was an elk. And so this is going to be all the deer. And then we're going to divide that by survey days. So now we've got a rate of all deer. And now I'm going to do another one on predators, on big predators, right? So let's take puma, create calculated field. We'll call this rate apex predators. And so put some brackets. Let's add up the puma plus the gray wolf plus the red wolf plus the brown bear. I'm not going to do black bears for now. They might be considered a top predator. We're going to leave them out for now. And then we're going to divide that by survey days. Okay, so now we've got our 3 predators. And I want to look at, are they sensitive to houses? Okay, so let's grab deer. And okay, Tableau always does this. It wants to say sum, so that's a sum of all the deer rates, but it's a dimension. So now it's showing you, okay, these are all the deer rates. Now we're going to take nearest building, and we have to tell it's not the sum, it's a dimension. And so now you have all these. Now there's these I think are from Alaska. They're going to skew everything. I'm going to exclude those for now. We might come back and look at that. But so here's the overall evaluation for how many deer were there in detections per day, and how close was the nearest building. And we can go up here. Let's get a trend line. Go up here to analytics. And you can see now we've got some analytical options. Drag trend line on, and let's do linear. And you can see overall, it looks like a bit of a negative trend, but a tiny R-squared value. It is significant because we have a lot of data where they tend to be more abundant close to houses, but it's a pretty tiny relationship. Okay, now, but I want to do this for all these. So let's grab coyotes, drop it in. Again, make it dimension. let's grab predators, drop it in, make it a dimension. And you can say these are not really very even close to significant for now, but we're gonna chop this up in some different ways. A lot of this is about chopping and slicing the data in different ways to look for relationships, right? But these graphs are kind of ugly. So here on this area here, you can change what all the marks look like, but you can also change them individually. So let's change this deer to be brown, as all good deer should be, and I prefer the circles. And let's change coyote to be, how about orange and a circle. And predators, big scary predators, we'll make them red and a circle. Okay, but you know, to look this, to think that there'd be a relationship across the entire country this way is probably not accurate. So what we really, the scale that we need to do this is at the sub-project scale, right? At each area where cameras are run. So we can add a filter to sub-project, and then do like we did before, where we say show filter, go over here to show filter and say make single value slider. And now we can see each individual place, each individual site. So in Auburn, Auburn, Alabama, there was a trend for the deer to be more common close to houses. Some of these were really close at 90 meters from a house, from a building. Some sort. We don't know if it's a house, but it's a building. And then less so when they were further from buildings. They had no apex predators, right? And so now this is pretty cool. We can just flip through these and see. We probably want to make this. Let's edit this. Oops, what did I just do? What did I just do? I just changed the way it looks. That's kind of weird. All right, I want to edit the title and get rid of the sheet name and insert in subproject name. Okay, it's showing up over there. I think I must have accidentally dragged it. Anyway, it's just I've reorganized the way it appears. We'll ignore that for now. Okay, so let's hit save. So we have this. We'll call this SnapshotUSA deployments, and this will save this up to your. You need to have a Tableau account, and it's free. And it'll save it up there. And now you could save this with other people if you wanted. And you can flip through it. And let's get to a place where we have some big predators. Like how about Colorado? Oops. So Colorado, you can see there's some puma out here, pretty far from buildings. There was one close to buildings as well. But there's no significant trend here. But you can see they generally were further away. And then what's interesting is the coyotes and the deer are both more common close to houses, close to buildings. All right. And you can see in this case, p-value 0.01, and in this case, p-value 0.03. So a pretty good trend suggesting that perhaps supporting the hypothesis that maybe at this site, the predators are more common further from houses, the apex predators, and the other ones further closer. But this is, my point here is this is an easy way to sort of quickly explore your data and maybe look to do some more complicated analyses later. But the other thing is, I think it's really important when you're working with these kind of data to have a look at what's going on at these study sites, right? And so what I want to do in the second half of this video is let's make a new worksheet. And in this case, what we can do is let's just duplicate this worksheet. The nice thing about doing that is we keep our filters, and then let's remove all the rest. But we'll keep our filter, and we'll keep both the filters. And now let's add in. Let's make a map. What are we still seeing? Oh, there's nothing there. So let's add latitude and longitude. And we don't want it to be average. We want it to be dimension. There. So now we have this site. This is Arizona. And you can see where the cameras were. And let's have these weighted by the deer. So all deer, the size will be all deer. Let's make them deer colored again. And maybe slightly larger. Now this map, you can't see where the houses are very well. So let's go map layers, options. Let's do the street view. Still don't see, maybe it'd be better with satellite view. There's not a whole lot of houses around there at all. No, these are all pretty remote places. Here's, no, you can't see that very well. All right, I'm gonna go back to outdoor view. You can at least see, okay, now you can see, well, yeah, pretty close to Amherst, there's quite a lot of deer there. And when you get further away where there's gonna be fewer houses probably. Now, if you wanted, you could actually color by houses. That might be interesting. Let's look at that. Let's go, or buildings. I keep saying houses, it's buildings. Probably most of them are houses. So if we go to nearest building and look color by that instead, now the size is how many deer were there, and the color is what the nearest building was. Let's make it something more sensible. Maybe like red is very close and blue is very far from a building. So now you can see, okay, big dot, lots of deer, red color, very close to house. Now we can flip through and see all these as well. But where are the graphs? They're in a different place. So what we can do now is make, instead of add a sheet down here, we're going to add a dashboard. And we're just going to simply drag in our two sheets and have them together on the same page. And what we can do, we have both here, right? But we don't really want to have to click each one. So if you go back to, let's go back to sheet one and say filter, for the subproject filter, apply to worksheets, apply to all using this data source, right? So now all the worksheets that are using this data source, which are just two, are going to be linked based on that dashboard. So now when you click, they both change, and we can actually get rid of these, get rid of that one. Cool, right? So now we have a page where you see where the dots are, and you see how many relative abundance of all these different species for asking your research questions. So maybe you've got different research questions and different graphs and maps you want to show, but this is a cool way to explore a lot of data very quickly and see some trends in what's going on. So let's save this. Interactive dashboard, it will go up to your Tableau. Yes, you want to overwrite because now you've updated with this dashboard. This will be fun to look at. I haven't even looked at all these yet. I really want to look at some of the places that had a lot of predators. We saw that Colorado thing. So we can, let's see, maybe we can look for some Montana ones. Arrow Ranch, Montana, trend of, oh, well, they had some predator pretty close to houses there, or buildings, sorry. Here's, yeah, anyway, you can play with it. Lots of cool stuff to play with here. Now in this case, we've got 3 tabs. If you have a dashboard, you might not really want people going in and seeing those other tabs. So again, you would come down here and say edit details, show in tabs, no. Okay, so that's the overview of working with deployments in Tableau. Hopefully you've seen how to make these interactive maps, how to create some derived fields, and how to make, this dashboard that connects the two. So in the last video, we'll be going into the subproject level data.